Aldrich?
Yep, I did. Yep.
Okay.
So we'll be sending the recording to them so that maybe in the future they could review it. All right.
Can you all see my
So
screen?
anyway, man, yeah, I can see your screen. So anyway, guys, before I give the floor to Abshir, I just want to, introduce him to you guys. So Abshir is a software engineer. He's passionate, restless, and driven software engineer with 3 years of experience in the industry. So he has a strong track record of success in designing, developing, and delivering high-quality software applications. He's actively trying to learn, grow, and solve the challenging problems that this world has to offer. So actually, Abshir has worked with Microsoft. That's so cool. Yep. So anyway, without further ado, let's all welcome Abshir. Take it to the floor, man.
Thank you. Um, how's everybody doing? I just kind of want to gauge the room before I, introduce myself. We don't have a big group today, so I want to just kind of walk around the room, get everybody's name, get the icebreakers and stuff out the way. So let's do your name, favorite activity, and then how many years of programming do you have? Like programming experience do you have? If you're a beginner, just say, hey, I'm a beginner. I'm still learning. This is the beginning of my journey, basically. Shaylin, you want to go first?
Yes, hi. My name is Shaylin. My favorite thing to do, I'm a gamer. I like to play video games, computer games, and then programming, I'm pretty much a beginner. I am studying it right now, but I don't know how to do much, so.
Cool. BZK, nice nickname.
Hi, my name is Bushra. I like to bake, and I'm just a beginner. Just my husband's into IT, so you know how they try to get you into. So just trying to see if this is something I can do. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me give a brief overview of today's workshop. First, pleasure to meet both of you all. Two women in tech, definitely a good sign. It's definitely a field where we need more women. So I appreciate you all for taking the effort and taking the stance to learn how to code. It's an important thing. So brief overview of today's workshop. We're probably not going to go a full 4 hours. It's probably going to be like 2 hours, give or take how many questions you all have. I'm going to introduce SkillSpire. I'm going to introduce, why it would be cool for you to be an engineer or a developer or a programmer. And then I'm going to introduce a couple of frameworks, like a couple of ways to build certain websites and stuff. Give a brief overview of what we do in the program, and then I'll do a demo for you guys. So we're all going to download a text editor, which is basically a tool that we use to write code. And then we're going to build out a portfolio website that looks something like this. So it's going to be real simple, HTML, CSS. I didn't want to overwhelm you all within the span of this like 1 to 2 hours. So we're going to create a profile page, add skills to it. Favorite activities. We listed our favorite activities earlier, and then we will wrap it up. But this is a good time for you all to just ask questions. This is a interactive workshop, so if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. I'm not going to be able to see your hands being raised, so if you do have a question, just go ahead and blurt it out, cut me off in the middle of my presentation, and I'll be able to answer it for you. Just by show of hands, do you all have laptops? Are you all on laptops, or are you all on your phones by any chance?
I'm on a computer.
Laptop. Cool. Okay, so I want you all to follow along with the interactive portion, the demo portion of the workshop. I want you all to code with me, just to get your feet wet, and so just so you can understand that it's not that hard, right? For people who are starting out, they think that this is like extremely difficult, but it is not that difficult starting out. So, all right, let me jump into it. Okay, this is the SkillSpire Coding Bootcamp workshop. And basically what we're trying to do is get you to become a full stack web developer. This poster here promotes full stack Python web development course, but we also teach React. We also teach data science. And I believe we teach other stacks like Mean and Mern and all that stuff, but you'd have to ask Yasmin. And so the idea is to learn to code using Python stack in 16 weeks. That's if you choose the Python course. We have very small classes with expert instructors invested in your success, career support services to find help, to find a job in tech, and one of the best value coding boot camps in, the Seattle area. All right. So a little bit about me. My name is Abshir. I'm a son of Somali immigrants. I've been a software developer for 5 years. Aldrich said 3 years, but it's actually 5 years. I've been coding since I was 20, so it's about to be 6 years actually. I've been programming since I was 20 years old. Started out at a coding boot camp called Coding Dojo. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's pretty big. You've probably seen some ads on YouTube and whatnot. I was a University of Washington computer science student. Took a break from that to pursue working full time, and I pursued a job at Microsoft in the middle of my college career. Worked for many startups. Worked for a education startup. I worked for a teaching startup. I worked for a real estate startup. So just a bunch of startups to help get my feet wet and get some stuff on my resume. Definitely an interesting story. If you all end up being students in my class, I'll definitely go into it a little bit more. And I worked for Microsoft for almost 3 years. A little bit about me. So this is more for you all. Why do you want to break into tech? Why would you want to break into tech? It's a challenging and creative career, right? Every single day there are new challenges. Every single day there's something new coming out. There's always something new to learn. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a new technology that came out called GPT, and this just enhances the life of a developer like 10 times more, because you have the scope to just build more things with the knowledge that machine has. Again, variety of work. You're not just pigeonholed into doing one thing. You can be a full stack engineer. You can be a data scientist. You can be a machine learning engineer. You can do so much in this industry. High demand, high pay. So this is one of the most high demand professions in the world at the moment. You all know, living in the Seattle area, software engineers are like everywhere, and they are needed almost everywhere, right? So big companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and even small startups. I remember at a workshop that I was at, somebody said that there was like almost 14,000 tech jobs or tech companies in just the Seattle Bellevue area, right? And all of those companies are looking for talent. So there's high demand for the position. Anyone can learn. Before there was a stigma placed on this profession that you have to be like a smart individual to get into coding, but you don't have to. Me personally, I was not the best starting out, but through hard work, you can get anywhere when it comes to this. Work-life balance is amazing. I definitely don't stress myself out a lot at work. But then again, it all depends on what company you work for. Again, feel free to stop me, or else I'm just gonna. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me, or else I'm just gonna keep breezing through these slides. Okay, what jobs can I get? So again, I mentioned a couple of these jobs earlier. Full stack web developer, front end web developer, back end web developer. All of these jobs are related to web dev jobs, right? So if you see a position online for anything web development, it's just for like building websites and also maintaining certain websites and certain applications that are on the internet. Web application developer, same sort of thing. JavaScript, Python, React, software engineer. There's just so many different avenues that you can take, right? And if you don't want to be an engineer, right, you can use this experience to get engineering. You can use this boot camp to get engineering experience, and then you can go into a field called product management. Product management or program management is basically where you like lay out designs and specs and create features, and you feed those features to an engineer, and the engineer will build the thing that you need built out, right? But it's good to have technical experience and technical knowledge if you want to be a program manager as well. So you don't always have to be an engineer or a coder or a programmer to get into the tech field. How much money can I make? The Skrilla, the Luciano, the cheese. Everybody wants the money, right? So this is a field where, you know, people can really, really, you know, make some cash and, you know, live a lucrative life. So it all depends on your experience and skills for a specific job, your location where you're at, right? Some parts of the world will pay you, you know, less than 100K for a software dev job, but then cost of living in that area might not be as much as it is in Seattle, or as it is in San Francisco, right? Or any, you know, big tech hub. But generally speaking, full stack web development skills set you up for many jobs with the potential of 100K or plus. Right. Most jobs will offer that. Maybe not starting out, but if you are in, like, who knows, maybe starting out as well. It all depends on the company. Microsoft's entry level position pays over 100K for almost all people that are new to the company, right? And some companies might pay less than that, but it all depends on, again, what company you're working for, what your experience is, and where you're at in the world. So even if the starting salary is below six figures, tech industry salaries tend to escalate very quickly. Last thing is experience is key. The more experience you have, the better it is for you. So experience can be, you know, getting some jobs on your resume, like startups or internships, building out portfolios. I think that's the best way to get experience. To build a portfolio out for yourself, add projects to that portfolio, show people that you can build stuff, and basically that's another way to say, hey, I have some experience, I know what I'm doing, hire me. What does the Skillspire Coding Bootcamp offer? So what we offer is a syllabus and a structure that allows for fast learning and self-teaching, right? I think that's the most important thing, especially in this field. This isn't like school, where school you get assignments, and then the teacher will give a lecture out most of the time, and the lectures correlate with the assignments. So that's like the school college type of path. But what Skillspire does is we give out like a very short lecture, and then we feed you all with a bunch of assignments and a lot of work, right? And it's your job to basically work at your own pace to, you know, solve the assignments, turn the assignments in, and ask questions whenever you need help, right? So your instructor is going to be there, your TA is going to be there to help you out. And the reason why we choose this method of teaching is because if we were to just lecture you all day and then have you guys do an assignment, it kind of would be like a brain drain situation. I don't know if you've ever been to college where you know, after finals, that class is like done for, you forget about it, and it's like you don't really retain that knowledge that you picked up throughout the whole quarter or the whole semester, right? With Skillspire, it's different, where we teach, and then we have you do the assignments on your own. And then whenever you run into a hard place, and whenever you run into a position where you don't really know what's going on and where you're stuck, then that's when you can ask a question to a TA or an instructor, and we'll be able to help you out to unblock you. But a lot of the learning is done on your end. Mind you, we will still be teaching you the basics. We'll still have lectures, very interactive lectures, since they're small classes, but for the most part, a lot of it's on you. And that's the method that almost all boot camps take. The instructors, again, are industry professionals trained to teach and are passionate about the work. Certification matters when you don't have experience. So at the end of the boot camp, if you do well, if you complete all your assignments, you know, pass all your tests, you will get a certificate, and with that certificate, you can use that as leverage to get a job, basically. And also, the bootcamp offers opportunities for like internships and you know, TA positions and stuff like that. A lot of the TAs that we have on the job are hired in-house. So, and a lot of the instructors are hired in-house as well. So they started out as students, and then they become TAs, and then they become instructors as well. And this can also help you build your network. So at the end of the boot camp, they have like a career development portion where, you know, they teach you how to network on LinkedIn, and they teach you how to, you know, network and how to find jobs when you're just starting out, because it's the hardest part to find a position when you don't have any experience. So it's a lot of different things. Before I move forward, are there any questions? Any questions? Okay. So what's the difference between a coding bootcamp and a university? I kind of touched on this in the previous slide. So universities can be extremely expensive. Universities require you to take courses you don't need, like engineering, biology, chemistry. I hated classes like physics and all these other classes because they didn't really have anything to do with the computer science degree for the most part. It was just like a bunch of prerequisite courses that you needed to take to move forward, right? So many people can't afford to wait 4 years. A lot of people want to, upgrade their skills and get a position as fast as possible. We remove all or almost most of the theoretical knowledge and we focus on the technical concepts that allow you to get a job. So a lot of computer science education is based off of theory, right? When I say theory, it's like more about how computer science works than actually like applying it to a real job or applying it to actually building something, right? And that's what is the key difference between a boot camp and a university. Is we separate ourselves from the theory, and we teach you how to build so that you can use that as a skill to work and make income. We help you with training, resume building, LinkedIn profiling, technical interview preparation, and job searching. So technical interview preparation is actually one of the biggest things that we do. Basically, we prep you for like technical interviews that these big companies or these startups might give you, which is like they'll give you a technical question like an algorithm or something like that. And then with the algorithm, they would basically assess your knowledge on whether or not you can do the job. So significantly more affordable, definitely more affordable. I don't know if you've seen the price earlier, but it's definitely a lot more affordable than a university would be. You pay for the 16 weeks, and in that 16 weeks, you basically get yourself into a position where you're work ready. That's the goal. Flexible payment plans. We have a mentorship and community. We have a lot of mentorship and community opportunities. So basically, as soon as you join the bootcamp, you are given access to our network of people who have found jobs. You're given access to the Instructor network, people who are currently professionals in this field. And basically, you're part of the network. You're part of the community, right? Which means if you need help finding a job, or if you need help doing a mock interview, or if you need help building an app or anything like that, right, you have access to us. And so that's the idea, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't get when they are in school, access to professionals, basically. And we don't have massive classroom sizes. So I've taught a couple of these courses so far. I think I've taught 3 courses so far, and after all is said and done, I don't think the courses reach over 10 people. I think 10 might be the max. 10 might even be too much. The sweet spot is probably like 6, 7 people, right? The reason why that's good is because you get more attention as a student. All right. When you have a question for the instructor, you can ask the instructor directly, because the rooms are more smaller and more intimate. So it's definitely a better opportunity for you. Any questions so far before I move forward? All right. But I can't afford to quit my job. ... Don't worry, you don't have to quit your job. All of our courses are part-time. Classes are only held on weekdays, evenings, and weekends. Courses are designed for people with full-time jobs. So during the week, we have 3 classes. We have 2 classes during the weekdays and 1 class on the weekend in the morning, right? So the classes might either be on a Tuesday and a Thursday, or they might be on a Monday or in a Wednesday, right? And they're evening classes that start around 5 o'clock. All right, so and the Saturday classes start around 9 a.m. So most of the time is given back to you, but we also expect you to do work outside of class, right? So classes are usually like 3 hours every night or every morning. you know, when I so 3 hours Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and we need you to do work outside of that 3 hours because it's a boot camp and you're not going to be able to complete all the work assigned within that 3 hours because a lot of that 3 hours is going to be reserved for like lecturing. All right, we're going to lecture, and then we'll set you all free. So technically it's 3 hours, or it's 9 hours of work or 9 hours of lecture, but we still need you to do about 10, 15, about 20 hours of work outside of class. All right, so that's the idea here. You don't need to quit your job, but you still need to put in some sort of effort outside of class. Courses are designed for people with full-time jobs. If you miss class, you can always catch the recorded lectures. We do have like a database of like a bunch of recorded lectures. And if you need help outside of class, you can always reach out to our instructor or our TAs outside of classroom hours for additional help. So I think that's the most important part. We have a Discord channel open where if you ask a question, we'll get back to you as fast as we can. And it's a good way to interact with, you know, the students in your class as well as your instructors if you get stuck. I think that's the most important part, is to utilize that Discord channel to ask questions so that you can get yourself unblocked as fast as possible. Okay, so let's install a text editor here. And then while you all are installing the text editor, I'm going to continue with the lecture. So let me just copy this really quickly. And I'm just assuming that you guys don't have a text editor installed. So I will paste this into the chat, paste this link into the chat. And then I'm going to have you guys install this text editor. And then in the meantime, while you are installing it, I'm just going to continue the lecture. So let's click on that link. Let's download the text editor, and we'll move on from there. The reason why I have you guys downloading the text editor is because I want you all to follow along with the demo so that you can, you know, build out your own web page or your first website, right? And in order to do that, you need to download a text editor. So let me know if you have any questions while doing this. I'm gonna give you all about 30 seconds to kind of open it up and kind of mess around with it, get it downloaded, and then I'm just gonna move forward with the PowerPoint. Any questions? Any questions so far?
Did you want us to download all three of those or just one of them? Because I have Visual Code already, or Visual Studio.
You have Visual Studio already?
Yeah.
If you already have a text editor on your computer, perfectly fine. I think
Okay.
yeah, it's cool. If you don't have one, this is just for the people who don't have one.
Okay, but do we need to download the other two that was on the list or no?
No, that's just I
Okay.
just need you all to have some sort of text editor where you can write code. If you have that,
Okay.
that's completely cool with me. I'm fine. It can be Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, Atom, Sublime. It's really up to you. Me, I prefer Visual Studio Code, especially just for working with, you know, smaller applications like just regular HTML, CSS applications, because, you know, they're very simple. I think Visual Studio is for more like bigger, robust apps and whatnot. So if you already have one, that's completely fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. You all 30 seconds to get that downloaded, and then I will get back to the PowerPoint. All right, let's get back to the PowerPoint. All right, so what is the World Wide Web? I think a lot of you know what the web is, what the internet is, but let's just kind of go deeper into this concept. So the internet is essentially a global network of computers that can communicate with each other. That's about it. It's just a bunch of servers that are talking to each other. The web is made of clients and servers. So to explain the concept of a client and a server, you can look at let's say we go to our browser, right? In this case, I am the client. I'm the client, and I'm on code.visualstudio.com, and I am here trying to get some sort of information from their servers, right? So if I click download Mac, it sends me to this page, and this page is coming directly from their servers. And when I say server, it's just a computer somewhere that holds some sort of stuff, some sort of code, some sort of information, some sort of data that I need as a user or a client on my browser. So as the client, I request some information, and then I get a response back with all this stuff here. That's the basic foundation for what the web is. And that process that I just explained to you is called the request response cycle. Right. So request response cycle, again, is when I, the client, send a request to a specific server or a specific site, and then I get a response back with the data that's needed for that site in the form of like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. How does the World Wide Web work? Browsers, just to go deeper into what I said, the browser searches through the domain name server for the website's IP address. Then the browser sends an HTTP request to the server asking it to send the client a copy of that website. So again, I send a request, I get a response back with a copy of that site in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then the server approves the request and sends a response back with the web files and data packets needed to basically display what's needed to the user or the client. So all websites work this way. Facebook, Twitter, I don't want to say Snapchat, because Snapchat's not a website officially. It's like an app. But like any website that you see here, right? It's basically works the same way. So Teams, ChatGPT, OpenAI, right? All the same thing. Let me put these two together. And so the browser assembles the data packets into a website and displays it on a home page. That's the idea. So full stack web development. What full stack web development is just the concept of breaking web development down into three portions or three sections of a stack, right? The first section is the front end, and the front end is the client side, basically what the user sees. Everything that the user sees is what we consider the front end, or the UX, which stands for user experience, right? And the front end consists of only three languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No other languages can be used to basically display stuff on the front end, right? It's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Everything that you see on the web today is literally just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the back end is server side. It contains most of the logic, often written in languages such as Python, Java, also JavaScript, C#, Ruby, PHP, all that stuff. And server side, when I say server side, it's basically that computer aspect that we were talking about earlier, where the user or the client side or the front end sends a request to a server. And that server, nine times out of 10 is written in some other language, right? So again, either Python, Java, C#, Ruby, PHP, JavaScript. A lot of those server-side languages can be displayed here. The last thing is database. So information storage. This is the section that basically stores like all of your data. Let's say you sign up for a website like Facebook or Twitter or something like that. All of your data is going to be stored in a database. It's going to be stored in a database like MongoDB, SQL, Redis, and basically all your tweets, every like that you have on Twitter, every interaction that you have on Twitter is going to be saved on a database somewhere. And I'm just using Twitter as an example, but we can use like other websites as well. Any website that has you log in is saving your data into a database. Any website that has you inputting any sort of data, and then when you refresh, that data is still there, 9 times out of 10, that data is saved into a database. And that is the idea of like the full stack, where you have the whole experience. You have the front end sends a request to the back end or a server somewhere in the world. That server does stuff with that logic. If it needs to save that data into a database, it will save that data into the database. If it needs to retrieve that data from a database, it will retrieve that data from the database, basically. So that's the idea. Full stack, again, refers to the technology used in a stack. A full stack developer can build a web application, including front end, back end, and database apps using a specific stack. So this is what we will be doing in the bootcamp. A lot of the stuff that we'll be doing is going to be built around full stack web development. Are there any questions? Any questions so far? All right, no questions. Cool. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I mentioned earlier that the web is built on top of these 3 languages. So everything that we see in this user experience here, right, visualstudio.com, is built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And if we open this up a little bit more, basically going under the hood, we can see that this is indeed true. So what we have on this left side is the code for the page built out in HTML. So if we hover over a specific div or division of the page, we can see that it gets highlighted, right? So div main updates.
I think you're sharing your PowerPoint if you're sharing something else.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me fix this. Thank you for catching that. All right, how about now? Can you see the webpage?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically everything that we see on this page is built in only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The data that's being retrieved for this page is probably going to be retrieved from a server that's built in those other languages like Python, JavaScript. But everything that you see here, everything that the user sees, is built in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if we highlight a specific portion of the page, right, in the code, we can see it get highlighted on the web page, right? And you see that the nav bar at the top gets highlighted, just kind of breaking down the page and whatnot, right? Here. So you can also kind of mess around with this a little bit and just let's find this section of the page where it says dismiss. Dismiss and update. Forget about it. I was gonna just kind of mess around with the page and delete a couple of things, but I have to find the text for that. But the idea is that this is built in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And this right side that we have here is CSS. And CSS again stands for cascading styling sheets. And it's basically just the way you style your page. So left side is HTML, right side is CSS. And a JavaScript code, some websites allow you to view their JavaScript code, some websites don't. Sources here, let's see if we can. Yeah, so here's, yeah, it's not there. So we might be able to view some of the JavaScript code on this page, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. But JavaScript code would look something like this, basically, right? This is kind of complicated and convoluted, but basically it would look like this. So again, all pages are built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript essentially. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Basically, it creates the structure for your web page. It controls the content and the overall layout of the page. It's like the backbone of your page, essentially. So I like to use the example of the human body. HTML would be the skeleton for the web page, basically. CSS is the styling for the page. So basically applies the styles to the web page, targets various screen sizes for responsive web design, then handles, again, the look and feel of the page. So this page would not look this good without CSS. All the colors that you see here are CSS. Even the font, the cool font that you see here is CSS. The way the blocks in the page are positioned is all CSS. Mixed with a little bit of HTML, but to get it positioned like nicely like this, it's you can thank CSS for that. And using the example of the human body, I would say CSS is the aesthetics of the human body, what you see on the outside, so like skin color, hair, the beard, just the details of the human body, right? JavaScript is what adds the interactivity and functionality to a web page. It handles the functions and web page features. So to go back to this example that we have here, let's see if they have anything JavaScript related. I think this is a good example here. So this edit button here, no, it's not a good example. Let's see if we have anything. Is documentation helpful? I don't see any good examples for JavaScript. Yeah, so this is an example of JavaScript, just dynamically rendering a page. So if I type something in the search bar like live or something like that, right, it will load data onto the page, and a lot of this is coming from the back end. It's coming from the server side, but to render that page dynamically without having like a long refresh can be associated with JavaScript. It's not a very good example, but it is an example for this web page. All right. So any questions so far on these three? I think I'm going to go deeper into them, but for the most part, are there any questions before I go into that a little bit more? Okay, so HTML, again, hypertext markup language, is used to communicate the content and structure of a web page using the markup. Elements are basically HTML tags that define content type, so like titles, paragraphs, text, links, all that stuff. Are HTML elements. Tags are not displayed. They simply allow the browser to interpret what type of content is being rendered. So basically, again, if we use this example, this would be considered an HTML element, right? So if we look at this, anything that you see here, div, let's go deeper into the divs. We see image is a tag. So all of these things in those little carrots are considered tags or HTML elements, basically. Again, HTML acts as the skeleton or the backbone for a web page. And here are some HTML resources. Let me add this to the page because we might be using this for our demo. And you can use this as a reference to kind of get yourself acquainted with all things HTML. This is a website called W3 Schools. It's a very, very useful website when it comes to learning how to build anything web related. Let me add the link here. My computer is glitching, so just give me 1 second. All right, and I'm adding that in there because I would really like you all to use this as a reference when we're actually going through the demo or when you're building out your own little HTML project for fun. I think it's a very helpful resource, and it will definitely answer a lot of questions for you if you do have any questions. HTML validator just validates HTML code is good or not. Stack Overflow is a tool that almost everybody in the dev community uses. It is literally like the savior for a lot of people. If you do have any questions regarding your code or why something is broken, I think Stack Overflow is the best place to go because it will help you solve that problem. Because if you run into a problem, especially when you're starting out, 9 times out of 10, somebody else, not 9 times out of 10, but most likely somebody else ran into that same problem and they'll have the answer for it or they'll have the solution for it. So it's really, it's a really helpful tool. I use it a lot my day-to-day. What is CSS? Again, cascading style sheets, basically a way to style your page. The skin color, eye color, fat, muscles, all the stuff that you see on the outside of a human body is what I would consider CSS. And it can be extended using frameworks like Bootstrap, Materialize.js, and Sass, which is just, I believe it's something like Sassy CSS or something like that. I can't remember. JavaScript, again, is the third of the big three. It adds functionality to your web page. It's a language that was created by the programming community in 1995. It's used to create programs in Netscape, which was a browser similar to Google Chrome and Internet Explorer. It was like the OG of all browsers back in the day. All-purpose languages. It's an all-purpose language, but mainly used for building web applications. So you can use JavaScript to build apps. You can use JavaScript to build games. You can use JavaScript to build a whole bunch of things, which is why I would recommend you all to join like a JavaScript course first, maybe the MERN stack in the beginning, instead of the Python course, because it will set you up for success in the long run if you learn JavaScript as your foundation. Not to be confused with Java, JavaScript has almost nothing to do with Java except that they are both programming languages. JavaScript acts as the nerves and the neural system. Again, if we're comparing it to the human body, JavaScript is what I would say are the nerves, or basically whatever gets you to move and stuff like that. Whatever part of your body gets you to like move. And the nerves, the neural system, all that stuff I would consider JavaScript. What is a framework? So a framework is basically a platform for developing software applications. It utilizes pre-designed sets of code that provides a framework for your application. So here are some examples of a framework: Python and MERN. Python, Django, and MERN. Django is a framework, and MERN stack is the framework. And again, it's literally just a bunch of code that a bunch of engineers put together to help make building a website a lot easier, right? Without frameworks, building websites would be not very difficult, but it would be a lot harder than what it is today. I feel sorry for those people starting out in like 2000 to 2000, especially 90s. There's like ancient technology, but like 2000 to 2004-ish, 2005-ish, those people were struggling to build websites compared to what we have today, right? What we have today, building a website is extremely easy, right? But back then, those people really had to put in the work. And so that's what a framework does. It's a bunch of code that somebody wrote, compacted, and made it open source to the public so that you can build your website a lot faster and you won't struggle as much as building it without a framework. So what is React? React is a lightweight front-end framework that's rapidly growing in popularity. We use React a lot at Microsoft. A lot of companies in the world today use React, which is why I say learning React is an important skill to have, because a lot of companies are looking for React developers and React engineers. It's designed by Facebook, used by companies such as Amazon, Instagram, Netflix, Pinterest, Shopify, Uber, Airbnb, Microsoft. Like all these big companies use React as a front-end framework. It's open source. It's an open source JavaScript framework, meaning anybody can use it. Anybody can download it off the internet. You don't have to pay anything for it. And there's a lot of documentation and a lot of resources to kind of help guide you when it comes to like learning React. So if you want to go through YouTube tutorials, if you want to take Udemy courses, if you want to go through a SkillSpire bootcamp on how to build a React website, front to back, a full stack React website, then you'll be able to find the resources. React Native is a version of React that allows you to make mobile app development easier. So any questions so far on anything that I've covered? Any questions? Any questions? No questions. All right. What is Python? Python is a very popular programming language. Python is an interpreted, object-oriented, general-purpose programming language. Meaning you could do it. You can use it for almost anything. It was designed by a guy named Guido van Rossum and introduced to the public in 1991. It emphasizes on readability and English-like syntax that makes it a popular language to learn. It's one of the most popular languages to learn starting out. I would recommend Python, but in my tier of list of like programming languages to learn, I would say JavaScript, React, Merge Stack. I think that would be a good place to start for almost all people. But why learn Python? Python is full of syntactical sugar. It means Python syntax is similar enough to English, and it's like really easy and makes it readable. So syntactical sugar is like code that it's like simplified code, basically. Python is considered easier to learn than many other programming languages because it's so close to English. It allows students to focus on programming fundamentals rather than being bogged down by like syntax. And syntax is just the language, basically. English is like A, B, C, D, E is syntax for English. It's just the way a language is written out. Resources. Python has been around long enough that it contains an extensive library collection, and there are a bunch of resources for people, basically. So if you're starting out and you want to learn Python, starting out, again, there are a lot of resources, probably even more resources than JavaScript and React regarding Python. So both great choices, both have abundance of resources. It's really up to you on what you want to choose. Usability. Python is a popular language utilized by a great number of companies and disciplines. Python is used in everything from web development to data analysis to machine learning to scientific computation and more. So you can basically use it for a lot of different things. What are algorithms? Programming algorithm is a procedure or formula used for solving a problem. So for 30 minutes of class time and during our SkillSpire bootcamp, for 30 minutes in the beginning of class every day, we will do algorithms. And we will do these algorithms to help prepare you for interviews and to help get that logical part of your brain set up, right? So in order to get a job at a company, most of these jobs are going to put you through a technical interview, and those technical interviews consist of algorithms. And so our job at SkillSpire is to help prepare you for those algorithms. And we do that by, again, having a 30-minute workshop every single day in class where I give you an algorithm and I have you guys break off into groups or work on it together depending on how big the class is. And then at the end of the session, we have you demo your algorithms out. And if you can't solve the algorithms, we'll solve them together as a group and we'll break it down step by step. Algorithms, again, are what gets you through the door at a company. So Matthew, do you want to try that out again? I think there's some feedback on your mic.
Yeah, I think I fixed it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I was trying to get on. There were a couple of devices I was trying to log in from.
Okay, cool. Did you have a question?
No, I was just I was trying very hard to get in, and I was in the waiting room for a long time.
Okay, cool. Well, if you do have a question, feel free to shout it out. I won't be able to see hands being raised. So again, if any of you have a question, just feel free to just shout me out and I will answer the question for you. All right. So again, we do algorithms for about 30 minutes of the first 30 minutes of class, and it basically allows you to, get that logical part of your brain exercised. And me personally, it helps me with my coding. So if I do algorithms before I start building an app or a website, it helps, it makes things a lot easier when it comes to building, basically. Here are a couple links for algorithms and data structures. I can add these links later into the chat. My computer is kind of glitching right now, so it might take some time to just exit out of the slideshow, and then paste those links, so I can do those later. Okay, so we're here to help. This course offers a 15-minute career counseling, free 15-minute career counseling service. You can call Yasmin. I believe Yasmin's in the chat. You can scan this and set up a meeting with Yasmin or set up a meeting with one of our career services advisors, and just kind of get a good overview of how the bootcamp works, what career services looks like, what the course material looks like, and all that stuff. And she'll be able to help you out. So you can scan this using your phone. Just let me know if you all want me to just kind of wait here for a little bit for you all, so that you all can scan this portion. If not, I will move forward. All right. I believe that is it. Stop PowerPoint and like to access your camera. Nope. Okay, so that is it for our slideshow. I'm going to jump into our demo now. And our demo is just going to be, again, it's going to be pretty basic. We're going to be building out a simple portfolio website using just HTML and CSS. I didn't want to overwhelm you all, especially since a lot of you all are starting out. So I didn't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of information starting out. Let me just paste these links from the PowerPoint.
I did have a quick question.
Yeah.
What do you want us to use for when we build our simple web page?
Yeah. If you have a text editor, that's completely fine. Any text editor works. So ideally, I pasted a link for Visual Studio Code. I think this would be a good one if you don't have one downloaded. So you can use this link to download Visual Studio Code, and this will basically give you the platform you need to build out the project for today. And I can give you all some time to get that downloaded as well. So just let me know if you need some time. So the idea is for you all to get a text editor downloaded onto your machine, and then once you get a text editor downloaded, then we can get started with the demo. So I'm going to give you all a break. So we're already an hour in right now. I'll give you all about 5 minutes, get the text editor downloaded, get everything set up, and then we will jump into our demo. And again, we'll be building a website that looks something like this, a real simple portfolio website. All right, it'll have a picture of you, your skills, favorite activities, favorite food, and then a footer with your email. All right, and if you want to add stuff to this, we can look into that. You can ping me outside of class and we can add some stuff to it. But this is going to be very basic for the time span that we have. Help you get a good understanding of what it's like to build something. And you can also say, hey, I actually built something in HTML and CSS, right? Or I actually coded something out. So I'll give you all 5 minutes. Let's do 7 minutes. So I'll give you all till 10:05, and then make sure you get everything downloaded and set up, and then we'll get back to it at 10:05. Again, the link is at the bottom of the chat. All right, let's get started. Actually, before we get started, does anybody need help with their text editor download? Is anybody kind of struggling with that? All right, so nobody needs help, then we'll just jump back into the lecture for the day. Okay, so basically this is going to be should be a pretty brief demo, just kind of covering some basic HTML, CSS principles. I'm going to exit out of this. Let me save that. First thing I want to do is create a folder, and I want you guys to follow step by step here. So I'm just going to create a folder. I'm going to call this folder workshop demo. And I'm going to go into that folder. So here we see that nothing is in this folder. And what I want to do is just basically create two files in this folder. It's going to be an HTML and a CSS file. Let me do this inside of my text editor first, though. So I'm going to take this folder and I'm going to drag it above my text editor icon. If you have your text editor on your desktop, you can also do this with the icon on your desktop. So take my folder, drag it over that icon, and then it's going to open up the text editor with that folder open. So we see here workshop demo is open, and now I'm going to create my files. So the first file I'm going to create is a file called workshop.html, and this is going to be, again, our backbone, or our HTML file that handles the backbone of our web page, right, or the skeleton of our web page. So we're going to call this workshop. Let's call it portfolio. I think portfolio would be better. So portfolio.html. And then I'm going to create a CSS file. So we're going to call this portfolio.css. And basically what we're going to do now is create the tags necessary, the tags that are needed to, build out the skeleton for our HTML page. So what I'm going to do first is build out the skeleton, build out the HTML, and then I'm going to style the page with CSS. Again, I'm going to kind of breeze through this. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Kind of stop me in my path and just let me know, hey, I don't understand this. Can you go over that concept again? Because it's going to be pretty quick. So please feel free to stop me. Please feel free to cut me off if you do have any questions. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is create our parent HTML tag. And if we go back to the web, we will see that almost all web pages, I should say like all web pages that I've seen so far, are nested within this parent HTML tag. And this is just basically saying, hey, this is the start of our HTML file. All of our HTML content is going to be nested within these two HTML tags, these two parent HTML tags. And again, these tags can be used to dictate the language and all this other stuff for the page. If you look at Visual Studio Code site, it also does that, right? So it's kind of like best practices to use the HTML tag as your parent tag. Next thing I'm going to do is create a head tag, and the head tag is used to basically store like the title of a page. What I mean by when I say title is the name that you see on the tab. So here we see for Teams it says join conversation. For portfolio it says portfolio. For OpenAI it says electricity basics, and this is the name that we'll see on the tab when we open up a new tab. That's the title of a web page, basically. So the title gets dictated here, and I'm just going to call this portfolio. All right, and now if I want to see this get displayed, I would right-click. If you have Visual Studio Code, I believe Sublime and Atom work the same way. Right-click on your HTML file and copy the relative path. once you click copy relative path, you can paste this into your browser and it will display your whatever you have in your code, basically. So, oh, I'm sorry, copy path, not copy relative path. Sorry about that. So copy path. And here we see our web page. Obviously, we don't have anything on the web page yet, so we need to add some stuff, but we see that we've updated the title and portfolio is there. So we've added portfolio, the title is there, and that should be good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is create a body tag, and the body tag is basically where we're going to store all of the content for the page, right? So I'm going to keep using these web pages as examples. If we look at this Visual Studio Code download page, we see that we have our HTML parent tags. We have our header tag that contains the title and like all this metadata and stuff. Let's look at this body tag and whatever's in there. Everything that you see on this web page is going to be nested within a body tag, right? So almost all web pages work the same way. All the content for the page is going to be nested within a body tag. And this is basically saying this is the body of my web page. This is essentially the meat and potatoes for my web page. So all of the content that we're going to have on our web page is going to be nested within our body tag. I'm going to use our first tag here, which is the H1 tag, and all the H tags are basically header tags. They're titles. So if you ever see like a bolded title on a page, or a very large title for a specific section of a page, then that is is most of the time it uses an H1 tag to get that data displayed. So H1, I'm just gonna add title here, and this is gonna be removed. I'm just doing this so that we can see some stuff pop up on the web page. All right, refresh, and then we see title has popped up. Okay. So the idea here is to break this page down into sections, right? So this top part would be a section. This skills part would be a section. Favorite activities would be a section. Favorite food would be a section. And then this bottom part would be a section. And there are tags built for this called section tags. But before I go into the section tag, let's just actually type it out so you can get a good idea of how the section tag works. So again, I think I explained this in the PowerPoint. HTML tags are just basically tags that are used to explain to the web page like what this specific thing is supposed to do, right? An H1 tag is supposed to display a header. A P tag is supposed to display a paragraph, right? A section tag is just a block of the page that we assign with height that's going to highlight a certain section of our web page, right? So again, like I said, this is a section. This top part is a section. This part is a section here, and it's just basically a tag that says, "Hey, we're gonna block out this certain block of our page for whatever you want to add to it." So the first section that I'm going to add is our header.
Just a quick question over here. Yeah. I did copy path and I pasted it in the web browser, and nothing is showing up for me. Like I did exactly what you have on your screen.
Yeah, but so a blank page shows up, right?
Right, a blank page, but I have like portfolio as a title, and I have the title in the H1 tag, and none of it is showing up.
And you copied the relative path for the HTML file, right?
Right, I did.
So does it look something like this here?
Yes, it does.
So workshop index.html, and you don't see anything pop up on the page.
No, right? No, not even the title or the H1 tag that I have.
Okay, copy relative path. Interesting. Should pop up. Are you what type of machine are you using? What laptop?
I have a what do I have? I have a Lenovo laptop.
Okay, copy relative path doesn't work. Let's put a pause on that. I'd have to check it out.
Sure.
We can share the screen later, and then I'm gonna cover this top section really quickly, then we can come back to you.
Sounds good.
For those of you who do have questions who are also blocked, just let me know as well, and we can unblock you. Okay, so I'm gonna build this first section out. Basically, this first section is pretty straightforward. It's just a profile picture and an H1 tag with my name. I'm going to add a tag called a div, and this is just short for division. And divisions are used to basically divide up a certain section of the page, right? So if we go into, again, this example here, this uniformity that you see here, the fact that this page is so organized is because of things called divs, right? So if we highlight this whole section, we see div.text content, and these blocks are basically broken down and structured because of these div tags. Divisions, I would say, are some of the most important tags in HTML. And if you look at the backbone for this specific page, almost the whole page is built using divisions, right? So that's the idea here, is to basically use divisions to create structure on our page, right? So we'll use divisions to create structure here. Then we use divisions to create structure here. So let's go ahead and build out that section really quickly. So div. Then within the div, we're going to create an image tag. And basically what the image tag is just a tag that allows you to display an image. The tag has two attributes that should be added to almost all images. A source attribute, basically where your image is coming from, and then an alt attribute. And the alt attribute is what pops up if the image is not there, or if the image is not displaying properly. So image not displayed. Right, so if I was to just leave this as is, right, we'll see this here. And this is just the contents of the alt tag. Now what I need to do is basically add an image to this, or add an image reference to this source tag. And let me just pull an image from my computer really quickly. I think I have an image in here. Just copy this. And I'm going to paste it. All right. So I added the image to my project folder, and the reason why it needs to be in your project folder, it doesn't need to be in your project folder, but it's good to have it in the same folder as your HTML or CSS file, because this way you can access the image a lot easier. The way this source tag works is you basically reference a certain path on your computer, and a path is just something that looks like this, and then that path would basically lead to the image, and then the image tag knows, hey, the image is at that path, let me display whatever's at that path. So here the path for our specific image would be ./profile.jpg, and this is just basically saying, hey, go into the same folder, find the file that says profile.jpg. And if we go back to our site, we'll see this image pop up. It's kind of huge because it needs to be styled, but ideally we can do all that stuff afterwards. So any questions so far?
Could you put the image for the link of that image in the chat?
You can use whatever image you want. You can also pull an image from Google as well. So like if you go to Google, just type in test image, and just any image you want, to be honest. Ideally, I would like you to, for this site, I would like you to use your own profile photo, just a photo of yourself. If you're using an image from the web, just right click on the image, copy the image address. I'm going to do this a couple times during this demo, so don't worry if you don't catch it. Copy image address, and then just paste that image address here, and then that will basically display the image it's supposed to be displayed. So if we refresh here, we see test pops up, and this is the image that we're pulling from Google. But ideally, I would want you to use your own image for this profile section, because it's going to be like your profile picture, basically. Okay, I'm going to give you all some time to build that out. Who had the question before? I think somebody had a question. They ran into a problem, something not displaying. All right. Okay. Cool. That's the case, then let's just move forward. Now what I'm going to do is add a class attribute to this division, and classes are basically things that we use to assign styles to multiple HTML elements at once. So the class attribute that I'm going to add here is going to be called container, and we're going to be using this class a lot in our CSS once we go into our CSS. So container, and inside of the container div, we're going to add our H1 tag. And H1 tag shows the name. So this is what our header section would look like essentially. All right. And we're basically just going to do the same thing over and over. We're going to create a bunch of different sections, sections for skills, sections for activities, and then sections for food and stuff like that. So the next section we're going to build out is the skills section. And this is the section that basically lists out all of your skills. And we're going to give it a class name of skills. It's going to contain a container div, so that's why I kind of copied and pasted it over, because the foundation is still going to be the same. I'm going to create an H2 tag here. H2 is just another header tag, like a title. And then I'm going to add a list here. And the list is going to be something called an unordered list. An unordered list is basically a list of bullet points, right? So if you ever have like bullet points or anything like that, have you ever seen bullet points or anything like that on Microsoft Word? It'd be some sort of unordered list, right? So bullet points of a bunch of items. And those items would be nested within this LI tag, or this list item tag. Web development. One of my skills, let's do another LI, let's do software engineering. And software design. All right, so we have these three skills. If we look at our web page to see what pops up, we'll see that huge picture pop up, and then we also see this skills portion, right? And so let me see participants. I think other people trying to join. I'm not sure if people are joining. Okay. So we see these skills here, and those skills were added here, basically. Again, feel free to stop me if you have any questions. I'm just going to continue to breeze through this. So if you do have questions, just kind of stop me, and I will be able to help out. All right. So the next section is our activities section. It's basically going to be the same sort of concept. You have a section. You have you give the section a class name, activities. Section contains a div that also has the class container, and then we're going to list our favorite activities. And our activities are going to have a photo associated with them. So H2, favorite activities. And then here, we're going to create subdivs, and then each subdiv is going to have a class. It's going to be called activity. And the reason why we're adding this here is because basically this is for styling. Activity. All right, and I'm going to add an image, and this image is going to come from Google. All right. And basically what it's going to be is just an image that highlights the activity itself. So I like let's just say going to the mountains, right? And then let's find a picture kind of highlighting that. So let's type in going to the mountain. Find a picture. Right click on that picture, copy image address. Paste that, and
What's the difference between copying the image address and just copying the link itself?
so the link won't display the image if you copy it. For the most part, like if I was to just copy link address here, this will just copy the link for this specific Google page. It's not going to copy the image because the image is being pulled from a website. So we want the image that's being pulled from the website. We don't want the link to the Google page, basically. So here, this is what's going to open up if you copy the link, right? Something that looks like this. But ideally, all we want is the actual image. So if I refresh the page, my computer is glitching. It's kind of slow. If I refresh the page, we'll see our first favorite activity, which is going to the mountains, and then a picture associated with that activity. And I'm just going to do the same thing for the second activity. Just copy this over. And then second activity is just going to be something like poetry. Just do poetry. All right. And let's find a picture for poetry on Google. Oh, poetry on mountains. That was funny. And we're going to copy the image address. And then we are going to paste it here. All right, so copy the image address, paste it there, and then that should be it for the skills section as far as the HTML goes, because we still need to style all this stuff or else our page is just going to be a big mess. All right, so let's just see if that displayed on the web page. Going to the mountains. Good, good, good. All right, cool.
I need to add that last div section.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
I need to add that last section at the end for the activities for that last div section right there.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I'm going to pause for a little bit so you guys can get that added. And then our last part is going to be it's going to be almost identical to what we did in the activity section. Just building out a section for our favorite foods. So that should be pretty straightforward. It's just the same sort of concept. Build out a section, build out a div, a container div, and then add 2 items to that container div. And we'll build out our footer and then add some styles to our page. All right. So I'm going to move forward. If you all are still building this out, it's completely fine. The section that I'm building out next is almost identical to what we're going to be building out here. So I'm just going to copy this section. And I'm also going to leave that other section on the screen as well, so you guys can still kind of move along and copy along. So this next section is going to be called food, which is basically going to highlight our favorite foods. I'm going to replace activities with food, and then activity with food item. And this is just going to highlight your 2 favorite foods, basically. So activity is going to be replaced with food item. And then my first item on the list is going to be curry, because I really like curry. And my second item on the list is going to be pasta. I really like pasta as well. All right. So now I need to find images for those 2. I have the links already downloaded, so I'm just going to copy those links. And then paste them in here. All right, so I have an image for pasta, and then I have an image for curry. And so we're going to paste those in. I'm going to also turn off my camera for now because it is kind of lagging. So I will hop off camera so that we can get more bandwidth. All right. Okay, so I have pasta, I have curry, I have the images for pasta and curry. I have the class names associated with them, and now if I refresh the page, I should be able to see those images. They're probably going to be really, one of them is probably going to be really big. Yeah, there it is. But we see our beautiful curry, and then we see our nice looking pasta. All right. So the page is definitely a big mess, but that's completely fine because we can style it after we've added our last section. Are there any questions so far? Any questions? All right, no questions. Now let's create our footer. And a footer tag is just basically highlighting like the bottom of your page. It's going to be the same sort of concept. A div with a container class. And then a p tag. And then this p tag is just going to contain my contact information. This is not my actual email. It's just for the sake of the site. So fshare@example.com. And that's it. So this is it for our HTML portion. Now what we need to do is style each section of the page. So here we have all of our sections, but they don't look anything like the final product. So we want it to look something like this, right? And to do that, we need to style the page. So let's style the page. And I'm going to style the page using our CSS file. All right, so first thing I want to style is everything containing these container tags, or this container, all the tags that have access to this container class. So we see that we have 3, 4, 5 divs that are calling the container class, and I'll show you why it's important to use classes. Because now we can call on that .container class, and the dot operator just is something to use to basically, say that, hey, you're honing in on a specific class. And basically what we're going to do is add styles to everything that is within a container class. So the styles that we need to add are adding a max width to the page. So I want my container to be a certain specific height, or specific width, sorry. So we're going to set the max width to 100%. All right, so let's take a look at that, see how it looks. Nothing much has really changed because we still need to just style the images and stuff. All right, max width is 100%. We're going to add margins to the page, so margin 0 auto. And what margins are is basically what allows you to create like spacing on the page. So here, the spacing that you see in between these icons is basically margins. All right. We have a question. We have something in the chat. Paste your code. Yeah, I can add the code later I can email you all the code afterwards for sure. Not a problem. If you're having trouble following along. Then I'm going to add some padding to the page. And what this padding does is it basically creates spacing in between divisions. Now what I want to do is focus on our header class, because the header class is basically this header portion, and I want to add some styles to the image, and I want to add some styles to just that top part. So adding background color and stuff like that to make the page look a lot nicer. So let me go into that header class. And I'm going to add this blue color to the class. Now what I'm going to do is add some text color. And these hashtags are basically just ways to identify codes. I'm sorry, identify colors in the form of a hash or a hash code. And this basically allows you to, you know, pick specific colors on the color chart. Text align, center. And what this is going to do is just align everything to the center, not just the text in that specific section, but just all the contents of that section are going to be aligned to the center. And then we're going to add some more padding. And what this padding is going to do, again, is create space in between the body of the section. Again, if you do have questions, please feel free to stop me, and we can definitely go over some of these concepts together. All right, that header. So now I should be seeing the styles on the page. The reason why I'm not seeing the styles on the page is because I haven't linked my CSS file. So what I need to do is link my CSS file to the HTML. And basically the way we do this is create a link tag. And what this link tag is just basically a tag that allows you to link outside files. Okay. And we're going to add this rel attribute and just basically saying, hey, the type of thing that I'm linking is going to be a style sheet or a CSS file. And then we're going to link our CSS. So it's going to be /portfolio.css. And that, again, that / is basically just saying, hey, go into the same folder, find me the file that says portfolio.css, and link that file to our HTML. Now that I've linked the file, I should see the styles get added to the page. You see here, we see that blue text. All right. I'm sorry, that blue background, and then we see the white text, and then we see the image. So now we still need to style the image. We still need to style the all the other stuff on the page as well. So I'm going to give this a class of profile picture. Class profile picture class equals profile dash picture. And the reason why I'm giving it a class name is because I want to style this directly. So I'm going to give our image a border radius of 50%. And what this border radius does is just makes the picture round. So if I refresh this, we have our round picture. Most profile pictures that you see online are like, they have like a round border. And then I'm going to give my picture width and height. So we'll give it a width of 150 pixels. And then I'll give it a height of 150 pixels as well. And we see here that our section looks almost identical to what we have here. All right, let's increase the width of the container. Instead of 100%, let's do pixels. So let's just do 1200 pixels. See if that fixes the issue. And refresh. Still nothing. I know why. Body tag, margin 0. Just going to remove the margins here. Padding 0. All right, cool. So cool. Now we have that first section. Now we're just going to basically do the same thing in style from the top down, right? We want to center everything and make sure all the images are kind of on the same wavelength, basically. So let's add some styles to our H1 tag. Margin top, 20 pixels. And then let's add some styles to our unordered list for our skills page. So basically what all I'm doing here is just kind of styling the text. Again, margins add spacing around a specific thing. Padding will add spaces within the thing. So here in this specific case, I'm just going to add some padding. So padding 0, or just remove all padding. Sorry. So now if I refresh the page, we see here the padding has been removed. And then now what I'm going to do is basically style that specific skills thing, that specific skills container, right? And what I'm going to do is add this text align center property. And what this basically does is it will center our specific div. And we see here that this looks kind of weird. Like it centered the text, but it didn't actually center the bullet points. So we got this weird thing on the left. What we need to do essentially is basically remove the thing that's preventing the bullet points from moving forward, right? So we have our skills, we have our container for the skills, we have our UL. Now let me just remove that here. So I had to use a property called list style and then set that to none. And this essentially should remove that thing. So actually let's put it here. Let's refresh. Cool. So kind of removes the bullet points from that specific section. And just kind of organizes it to make it look a lot better, basically. So any questions so far? I know I'm kind of breezing through this, but I want you all to kind of like ask questions. If I am moving a little bit too fast, please let me know. I can go back over certain things. But the idea is to try to get this all on the page, basically, and get everything styled as fast as we can.
Would you mind just like putting the code in the chat and then I can just copy it?
Yeah, I can put the code for the HTML in the chat. So far what I have, or I can put the finished product code into the chat for the HTML. So that was the HTML. I'll just add a divider there. And then I can add the CSS as well. But I can add the CSS afterwards. Okay, so basically we have the skills section all styled out. Now what I'm going to do is style out the activity section and the food section. The good thing is with CSS, I can basically do both sections at once by adding their attributes to one style block. So activity and food item. So basically these two classes, activity and food item, can be styled together essentially. Even the activities section and the food section can be styled together. So let's try that first. So activities and food. And these are two sections that we created here. So if we look at the food section and the activity section, essentially I want them to have the same styles, basically. So let me add those styles here. I want them to have the same styles as this skills section. So text align center. And that should be it. And this should just center everything. Cool. Favorite activities, good. Everything's centered, but still we want these activities to be lined up on the same line. And also the food section should have been styled as well. So dot food, let me make sure that is good. So dot food activities and dot food. Dot food activities, good. I think that should be styled very good. Activities, class dot food. All right, I think since they have the same properties, let's just add them onto the same line. This way everything can get added into one. So we see here skills, activities, food, they all have the same sort of style. So we're just going to all put them into like one style block. Now what I'm going to do is style each specific section for these two sections. So we're going to style each activity, we're going to style each favorite food item, and then we'll get it to look more presentable, because right now these items are too big, and we see that the text is centered, but the images are huge, and we basically need to get them to look better, basically. So set the width here. So I want to set the width for each activity and each food item. So we'll do width. Let's do 200 pixels each. I'm going to set a height of 200 pixels as well. All right, let's see if that looks better. All right, the images are still kind of wonky, so let me just kind of fix those images as well. So IMG, set the width to 100%. If we set the width to 100%, it's going to be 200 pixels. And we're going to set the border radius to 5 pixels. And what the border radius does, again, is it basically creates a border, like a rounded border around the image. And then I save. So cool. We see our images. We see everything there. We see pasta, curry, but everything's kind of pushed to the left. So now what I need to do is center everything. And ideally, that's the idea. We're going to use something called a display property. And what this display property does, it's going to put everything on the same line, and then it's going to allow us to make the page again look more kind of organized and uniform. So we're going to center everything, put everything on the same line, and add a little bit of padding to this section as well. So padding 40 pixels. All right, there we go. So now things are more centered, things are more aligned. Looks pretty good. I think we need to do the same thing for this section as well. So favorite activities, going to non-activities, text align center, padding. Good. So this needs to be centered as well. So activities, there we go. I think I might have spelled it wrong. Activites is what I spelled it. So let's call it activities. And I think that should fix everything. Activity. There we go. So favorite activities, favorite food. Good, good. So like now these sections are styled. If I want to add colors to this section, I can. Let's add some colors to this favorite. Let's add some colors to this food section. Or actually the activity section, sorry. Activities. And then we'll just do a background color of, do like a gray background color. So this is styled. It's looking a lot like what we have in the example. Now the last thing I need to do is just style that footer, and it's just going to be the same thing. So footer, we're just going to align the text to make it more centered. Text align center. I'm going to change the color to white for the color of the text, and then I'm going to choose the background. I'm going to use the same background that I used for the header. So change the background header. So essentially, it's just going to be basically what we have for the header. And it's going to be almost identical. Actually, identical to the styles that we have in the header. So now if I refresh, my text should be centered. The color of the text should be white, and boom, we have our page. So this is the initial. This is kind of what it was supposed to look like. Only thing that's missing is the font styles. I can add some font styles to the page, and the way to do that is to update this body tag with a specific font family. So font family, and we'll try Arial sans serif. I think this is a good one. Now if I refresh, the font should look a lot better. There we go. Cool. So this is it. This is our whole page. I'll copy the CSS code so you guys can take a look at it as well. But ideally, this is what it's supposed to look like under the hood, basically. So our page starts off with our sections. We break the page down into sections, and then we use CSS to basically style that page. And that is the whole project. That's everything. So do we have any questions so far? Does anybody want me to go over any other concepts again? Does anybody need me to cover anything again? Basically. Let's look at the chat. I see a couple of people have dropped. All right. So I'm going to take that as a no. I did paste some of the code in the chat. I think somebody mentioned that I should upload it to GitHub. My GitHub is kind of wonky right now, so I did paste the code into the chat. You can take the HTML portion and paste it into an HTML file, and it should be almost identical to what we have. It is identical to exactly what we have, what we had in the demo. And the CSS also I pasted in. CSS shouldn't be as long as the HTML. You can just copy that and paste it into a CSS file, and then it should work, ideally. Are there any questions, any concerns? Does anybody want me to go over any of the concepts that I just covered?
I did have some issues with the adding the photos into the folder and having to like source them into the code.
Yeah, we can go over that. Do you want to share your screen, or just to kind of show like what the issue was?
It might. Oh, sorry. Wouldn't it be hard to share my screen if you were sharing it before?
Yeah. But I stopped sharing now. Shaylin, I see you're typing something. Oh, no, you stopped typing. Go ahead and share, Matt, if you wanted to kind of fix the issue, or I can just kind of cover the issue if you needed some help. I'm not sure about certificates. Shaylin, I think he might have misunderstood the question. I think he said yes to certificates as far as like finishing the Skillspire program, Skillspire bootcamp program. But I'm not sure. I think you would have to ping Yasmin for the certificate information. Because she would have it. So if you have Yasmin's information on LinkedIn, or if you have her phone number, you can text her. But she would know whether or not you're supposed to get a certificate for this workshop. But I'm not sure. I can't really help out with that. But I think Yasmin should be able to help you out. Okay, so are there any other questions before we leave for this session? Matt, if you still needed some help, just let me know. I don't want to just kind of leave without helping you out. All right. So I guess that's it for today's session. Ended off a little bit early. I told you all I wasn't planning to take the full 4 hours. I don't think it would have made sense to take all that time, but I think it was a good event. If any of you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to any of us. I'll add my email into the chat. Abshir@skillspire.net, and you can also reach out to Yasmin and Aldrich as well, and we should be able to get back to you if you have any questions. But please feel free to reach out. Please feel free to call on us if you are interested in anything that we have going on. Thank you all for joining, and looking forward to hearing from some of you guys soon. All right, goodbye.